Hello everybody, today this is a show about what Wikipedia talk all about. So, first thing, we will start from kindergarten all the way to college stuff, which I don't know. I don't know, I'm a grade school student, so the show might be last forever because there will be new article every time. Every time it's what? Okay, first thing first. If you want to learn kindergarten, it's alphabet, right? Yeah, I need alphabet. But first, let's understand what is alphabet. Okay, let's go.
Alphabet, published by Wikipedia. An alphabet is a standardized set of basic written symbols or graphemes that represent the phonemes of certain spoken languages. Not all writing systems represent language in this way. In a syllabary, each character represents a syllable,
will say it
for
in
instance,
a complicated way.
and logographic
So that
systems
means
use
your kid
characters
must be
to represent
questioning
words,
a lot of questions,
morphemes, or other
what are
semantic
you-
units.
This will
The
be
first fully phonemic
very,
script, the Proto-Canaanite script, later known as the Phoenician Alphabet, is considered to be the first alphabet and is the ancestor of most modern alphabets, including Arabic, Cyrillic,
Guys,
Greek,
if this
Latin,
channel got
and
1,000 subs, then I will give my
It was created by
merch.
Semitic-speaking
The
workers and
the
slaves
bracelet
in the
merch
Sinai
at first, then
Peninsula
if I hit
by
1
selecting
million,
a
then I
small
will give
number
you
of
the shirt
hieroglyphs
merch.
commonly seen in their Egyptian
Which is
surroundings to
Hungarian.
describe the sounds as opposed to the
Which we
semantic
would do that for
values
the
of
future,
their own
so.
Canaanite language. Peter T.
You
Daniels,
just wait for that.
however, distinguishes an abugida or alpha syllabary, a set of graphemes that represent consonantal-based letters which diacritics modify to represent vowels,
Comment
and
below.
abjad, in which
Say in
letters
the comment if it's
predominantly
too
or
hard or
exclusively
complicated.
represent
Thumbs
consonants,
up
and an
if it's
alphabet,
too
a
hard
set of
or
graphemes that represent
complicated.
both vowels and
Or you
consonants.
just love it.
In this narrow sense of the word, the first true alphabet was the Greek alphabet, which was developed on the basis of the earlier Phoenician alphabet. Of the dozens of alphabets in use today, the most popular is the Latin alphabet, which was derived from the Greek, in which many languages modified by adding letters formed using diacritical marks. While most alphabets have letters composed of lines, there are also exceptions such as the alphabets used in Braille.
The Mesopotamian language,
The
they have
Khmer
lines.
alphabet is the longest, with 74 letters. Alphabets are usually associated with the standard ordering of letters. This makes them useful for purposes of collation, specifically by allowing words to be sorted in alphabetical order. It also means that their letters can be used as an alternative method of numbering ordered items in such contexts as numbered lists and number placement. Etymology. The English word alphabet came into Middle English from the late Latin word alphabetum, which in turn originated in the Greek alphabetos. The Greek word was made from the first two letters, alpha and beta. The names for the Greek letters came from the first two letters of the Phoenician alphabet, aleph, which also meant ox, and bet, which also meant house. Sometimes, like in the alphabet song in English, the term ABC is used instead of the word alphabet. Knowing one's ABCs in general can be used as a metaphor for knowing the basics about anything. History. Ancient Northeast African and Middle Eastern scripts. The history of the alphabet started in ancient Egypt. Egyptian writing had a set of some 24 hieroglyphs that are called uniliterals to represent syllables that begin with a single consonant of their language, plus a vowel to be supplied by the native speaker. These glyphs were used as pronunciation guides for logograms, to write grammatical inflections, and, later, to transcribe loan words and foreign names.
This probably
in the Middle Bronze
and also
Age,
this video
an
will be edited
apparently
as a
alphabetic
documentary
system known as the Proto-Sinaitic script appears in Egyptian turquoise mines in the Sinai Peninsula dated to circa the 15th century BC, apparently left by Canaanite workers.
I make it
In
slowly.
1999, John and Deborah Darnell
Or you can just
discovered
slow down
an
the
even
video.
earlier version of this first alphabet at Wadi El Hol, dated to circa 1800 BC and showing evidence of having been adapted from specific forms of Egyptian hieroglyphs that could be dated to circa 2000 BC, strongly suggesting that the first alphabet had been developed about that time. Based on letter appearances and names, it is believed to be based on Egyptian hieroglyphs. This script had no characters representing
comment
vowels,
below if you
although
hear music
originally it probably was a
in the
syllabary,
background.
but unneeded symbols were discarded. An alphabetic cuneiform script with 30 signs, including 3 that indicate the following vowel, was invented in Ugarit before the 15th century BC. This script was not used after the destruction of Ugarit. The Proto-Semitic script eventually developed into the Phoenician alphabet, which is conventionally called Proto-Canaanite before ca. 1050 BC. The oldest text in Phoenician script is an inscription on the sarcophagus of King Ahiram. This script is the parent script of all Western alphabets. By the 10th century, 2 other forms can be distinguished, namely Canaanite and Aramaic. The Aramaic gave rise to the Hebrew script. The South Arabian alphabet, a sister script to the Phoenician alphabet, is the script from which the Ge'ez alphabet is descended. Vowelless alphabets are called abjads, currently exemplified in scripts including Arabic, Hebrew, and Syriac. The omission of vowels was not always a satisfactory solution in some
Homework is more important than
consonants
listening,
are sometimes used to indicate the vowel quality of a syllable.
Thumbs up if homework
These
is more
letters have a
important
dual
than
function since they are also used as pure consonants.
homework is more.
The
Thumbs up
Proto-Semitic
if
or
homework is more
Proto-Canaanite
important
script
than
and the
gaming.
Ugaritic script were
I
the
feel like
first scripts
homework
with
is
a limited
important.
number of signs, in contrast to the other widely
And
used
gaming
writing systems at the time,
It's not that necessary.
cuneiform,
Or is your teacher was
Egyptian
great at you?
hieroglyphs, and
And I
linear
don't want
beat.
to let you happen.
The Phoenician script was probably the first phonemic script, and it contained only about 24 distinct letters, making it a script simple enough for common traders to learn. Another advantage of Phoenician was that it could be used to write down many different languages, since it recorded words phonemically.
Wow.
The script was spread by the Phoenicians across the Mediterranean. In Greece, the script was modified to add vowels, giving rise to the ancestor of all alphabets in the West. It was the first alphabet in which vowels have independent letter forms separate from those of consonants. The Greeks chose letters representing sounds that did not exist in Greek to represent vowels. Vowels are significant in the Greek language, and the syllabical linear B script that was used by the Mycenaean Greeks from the 16th century BC had 87 symbols, including 5 vowels. In its early years, there were many variants of the Greek alphabet, a situation that caused many different alphabets to evolve from it. European alphabets. The Greek alphabet, in its Euboean form, was carried over by Greek colonists to the Italian peninsula, where it gave rise to a variety of alphabets used to write the Italic languages. One of these became the Latin alphabet, which was spread across Europe as the Romans expanded their empire. Even after the fall of the Roman state, the alphabet survived in intellectual and religious works. It eventually became used for the descendant languages of Latin and then for most of the other languages of Europe. Some adaptations of the Latin alphabet are augmented with ligatures, such as A in Danish and Icelandic and in Algonquian, by borrowings from other alphabets, such as the thorn in Old English and Icelandic, which came from the Futhark root, and by modifying existing letters, such as the F of Old English and Icelandic, which is a modified D. Other alphabets only use a subset of the Latin alphabet, such as Hawaiian and Italian, which uses the letters J, K, X, Y, and W only in foreign words. Another notable script is Elder Futhark, which is believed to have evolved out of one of the old Italic alphabets. Elder Futhark gave rise to a variety of alphabets known collectively as the Runic Alphabets. The Runic alphabets were used for Germanic languages from AD 100 to the late Middle Ages.
Don't explain too complicated.
Its usage is mostly restricted to engravings on stone and jewelry, although inscriptions have also been found on bone and wood. These alphabets have since been replaced with the Latin alphabet, except for decorative usage for which the runes remained in use until the 20th century. The Old Hungarian Script is a contemporary writing system of the Hungarians. It was in use during the entire history of Hungary, albeit not as an official writing system. From the 19th century, it once again became more and more popular. The Glagolitic alphabet was the initial script of the liturgical language Old Church Slavonic and became, together with the Greek uncial script, the basis of the Cyrillic script. Cyrillic is one of the most widely used modern alphabetic scripts, and is notable for its use in Slavic languages and also for other languages within the former Soviet Union. Cyrillic alphabets include the Serbian, Macedonian, Bulgarian, Russian, Belarusian, and Ukrainian. The Glagolitic alphabet is believed to have been created by Saints Cyril and Methodius, while the Cyrillic alphabet was invented by Clement of Ohrid, who was their disciple. They feature many letters that appear to have been borrowed from or influenced by the Greek alphabet and the Hebrew alphabet. The longest European alphabet is the Latin-derived Slovak alphabet, which has 46 letters. Asian alphabets. Beyond the logographic Chinese writing, many phonetic scripts are in existence in Asia. The Arabic alphabet, Hebrew alphabet, Syriac alphabet, and other ABJADS of the Middle East are developments of the Aramaic alphabet. Most alphabetic scripts of India and Eastern Asia are descended from the Brahmi script, which is often believed to be a descendant of Aramaic. In Korea, the Hangul alphabet was created by Sejong the Great. Hangul is a unique alphabet. It is a featural alphabet, where many of the letters are designed from a sound's place of articulation. Its design was planned by the government of the day, and it places individual letters in syllable clusters with equal dimension in the same way as Chinese characters to allow for mixed script writing. Zhuyin is a semi-syllabary used to phonetically transcribe Mandarin Chinese in the Republic of China. After the later establishment of the People's Republic of China and its adoption of Hanyu Pinyin, the use of Zhuyin today is limited, but it is still widely used in Taiwan, where the Republic of China still governs.
I love that part because that's
Zhuyin developed out of a form of Chinese shorthand based on Chinese characters in the early 1900s and has elements of both an alphabet and a syllabary. Like an alphabet, the phonemes of syllable initials are represented by individual symbols, but like a syllabary, the phonemes of the syllable finals are not. Rather, each possible final is represented by its own symbol. For example, Luan is represented as Luan, where the last symbol and represents the entire final end. While Zhuyin is not used as a mainstream writing system, it is still often used in ways similar to a romanization system, that is, for aiding in pronunciation and as an input method for Chinese characters on computers and cell phones. European alphabets, especially Latin and Cyrillic, have been adapted for many languages of Asia. Arabic is also widely used, sometimes as an abjad and sometimes as a complete alphabet. Types. The term alphabet is used by linguists and paleographers in both a wide and a narrow sense. In the wider sense, an alphabet is a script that is segmental at the phoneme level, that is, it has separate glyphs for individual sounds and not for larger units such as syllables or words. In the narrower sense, some scholars distinguish true alphabets from two other types of segmental script, ABJADS and Abuhidas. These three differ from each other in the way they treat vowels. ABJADS have letters for consonants and leave most vowels unexpressed. Abuhidas are also consonant-based, but indicate vowels with diacritics to or a systematic graphic modification of the consonants. In alphabets in the narrow sense, on the other hand, consonants and vowels are written as independent letters. The earliest known alphabet in the wider sense is the Wadi el-Hol script, believed to be an abjad, which through its successor Phoenician is the ancestor of modern alphabets, including Arabic, Greek, Latin, Cyrillic, and Hebrew. Examples of present-day ABJADS are the Arabic and Hebrew scripts. True alphabets include Latin, Cyrillic, and Korean Hangul, and Abuhidas are used to write Tigrinya, Amharic, Hindi, and Thai. The Canadian Aboriginal syllabics are also an Abugida rather than a syllabary as their name would imply, since each glyph stands for a consonant that is modified by rotation to represent the following vowel. All three types may be augmented with syllabic glyphs. Ugaritic, for example, is basically an abjad, but has syllabic letters for a, I, u. Cyrillic is basically a true alphabet, but has syllabic letters for ya, j, ju. Coptic has a letter for t. Devanagari is typically an abugida augmented with dedicated letters for initial vowels, though some traditions use a as a zero consonant as the graphic base for such vowels. The boundaries between the three types of segmental scripts are not always clear-cut. For example, Sorani Kurdish is written in the Arabic script, which is normally an abjad. However, in Kurdish, writing the vowels is mandatory, and full letters are used, so the script is a true alphabet. Other languages may use a Semitic abjad with mandatory vowel diacritics, effectively making them abuhidas. On the other hand, the Phagspa script of the Mongol Empire was based closely on the Tibetan abugida, but all vowel marks were written after the preceding consonant rather than as diacritic marks. Although Shorta was not written, as in the Indic abuhidas, one could argue that the linear arrangement made this a true alphabet. Conversely, the vowel marks of the Tigrinya abugida and the Amharic abugida have been so completely assimilated into their consonants that the modifications are no longer systematic and have to be learned as a syllabary rather than as a segmental script. Even more extreme, the Pahlavi abjad eventually became logographic. Thus, the primary classification of alphabets reflects how they treat vowels. For tonal languages, further classification can be based on their treatment of tone, though names do not yet exist to distinguish the various types. Some alphabets disregard tone entirely, especially when it does not carry a heavy functional load, as in Somali and many other languages of Africa and the Americas. Such scripts are to tone what ABJADS are to vowels. Most commonly, tones are indicated with diacritics, the way vowels are treated in abuhidas. This is the case for Vietnamese and Thai. In Thai, tone is determined primarily by the choice of consonant, with diacritics for disambiguation. In the Pollard script, an abugida, vowels are indicated by diacritics, but the placement of the diacritic relative to the consonant is modified to indicate the tone. More rarely, a script may have separate letters for tones, as is the case for Hmong and Zhuang. For most of these scripts, regardless of whether letters or diacritics are used, the most common tone is not marked, just as the most common vowel is not marked in Indic abuhidas. In Zhuyin, not only is one of the tones unmarked, but there is a diacritic to indicate lack of tone, like the Varama of Indic. The number of letters in an alphabet can be quite small. The book Pahlavi script, an abjad, had only 12 letters at one point, and may have had even fewer later on. Today the Rotokas alphabet has only 12 letters. While Rhodokas has a small alphabet because it has few phonemes to represent, Book
Don't listen
Pavali
to
was
bad
small
words,
because
okay?
many letters had been conflated. That is, the graphic
video
distinctions had been
made it
lost over
through, I
time,
knew.
and diacritics were not
That was
developed to
the
compensate
problem.
for this as they were in Arabic, another script that lost many of its distinct letter shapes. For example, a comma-shaped letter represented G, D, Y, K, or J. However, such apparent simplifications can perversely make a script more complicated. In later Pahlavi papyri, up to half of the remaining graphic distinctions of these 12 letters were lost, and the script could no longer be read as a sequence of letters at all, but instead each word had to be learned as a whole, that is, they had become logograms as in Egyptian Demotic. The largest segmental script is probably in Abugida, Devanagari. When written in Devanagari, Vedic Sanskrit has an alphabet of 53 letters, including the Visarga mark for final aspiration and special letters for Ks and Jain, though one of the letters is theoretical and not actually used. The Hindi alphabet must represent both Sanskrit and modern vocabulary, and so has been expanded to 58 with the Kutma letters to represent sounds from Persian and English. Thai has a total of 59 symbols, consisting of 44 consonants, 13 vowels and 2 syllabics, not including 4 diacritics for tone marks and 1 for vowel length. The largest known abjad is Sindhi, with 51 letters. The largest alphabets in the narrow sense include Kabardian and Abkhaz, with 58 and 56 letters, respectively, and Slovak, with 46. However, these scripts either count D and trigraphs as separate letters, as Spanish did with CH and LL until recently, or uses diacritics like Slovak C. The Georgian alphabet is an alphabetic writing system. With 33 letters, it is the largest true alphabet where each letter is graphically independent. The original Georgian alphabet had 38 letters, but 5 letters were removed in the 19th century by Ilyashiv Chabadze. The Georgian alphabet is much closer to Greek than the other Caucasian alphabets. The letter order parallels the Greek, with the consonants without a Greek equivalent organized at the end of the alphabet. The origins of the alphabet are still unknown. Some Armenian and Western scholars believe it was created by Mesrop Mashtots, also known as Mesrab the Vardabed, who was an early medieval Armenian linguist, theologian, statesman and hymnologist, best known for inventing the Armenian alphabet c. 405 AD. Other Georgian and Western scholars are against this theory. Most scholars link the creation of the Georgian script to the process of Christianization of Iberia, a core Georgian kingdom of Kartli. The alphabet was therefore most probably created between the conversion of Iberia under King Mirian III and the Bir el Kut inscriptions of 430, contemporaneously with the Armenian alphabet. Syllabaries typically contain 50 to 400 glyphs, and the glyphs of logographic systems typically number from the many hundreds into the thousands. Thus, a simple count of the number of distinct symbols is an important clue to the nature of an unknown script. The Armenian alphabet is a graphically unique alphabetical writing system that has been used to write the Armenian language. It was created in year 405 AD. Originally contained 36 letters.
I'm so scared because
2 more letters, O and F, were added in the Middle Ages. During the 1920s orthography reform, a new letter F was added, which was a ligature before E plus W, while the letter WW was discarded and reintroduced as part of a new letter UU. The Armenian script's directionality is horizontal left to right, like the Latin and Greek alphabets. It also uses bicameral script like those. The Armenian word for alphabet is Abubin, named after the first 2 letters of the Armenian alphabet at Abe, AYB, and B Ben Ben. Alphabetical order. Alphabets often come to be associated with a standard ordering of their letters, which can then be used for purposes of collation, namely for the listing of words and other items in what is called alphabetical order. The basic ordering of the Latin alphabet, which is derived from the Northwest Semitic Abgid order, is well established, although languages using this alphabet have different conventions for their treatment of modified letters and of certain combinations of letters. In French, these are not considered to be additional letters for the purposes of collation. However, in Icelandic, the accented letters such as A, I, and O are considered distinct letters representing different vowel sounds from the sounds represented by their unaccented counterparts. In Spanish, mi is considered a separate letter, but accented vowels such as an A are not. The LL and CH were also considered single letters, but in 1994 the Real Academia Española changed the collating order so that LL is between LK and LM in the dictionary and CH is between CG and C, and in 2010 the 10th Congress of the Association of Spanish Language Academies changed it so they were no longer letters at all. In German, words starting with SCH are inserted between words with initial SCA and Psi instead of appearing after initial SZ, as though it were a single letter, in contrast to several languages such as Albanian, in which DH, E, GJ, LL, RR, TH, XH and ZH would follow the letters D, E, G, L, N, R, T, X and Z respectively, as well as Hungarian and Welsh. Further, German words with an umlaut are collated ignoring the umlaut, contrary to Turkish that adopted the graphemes O and U, and where a word like tufik would come after twos in the dictionary. An exception is the German telephone directory where umlauts are sorted like a equals A, since names such as Jaeger also appear with the spelling Jaeger and are not distinguished in the spoken language. The Danish and Norwegian alphabets end with A, O, A, whereas the Swedish and Finnish ones conventionally put A, O at the end.
Oh my goodness.
It is unknown whether the earliest alphabets had a defined sequence. Some alphabets today, such as the Hungarian script, are learned one letter at a time, in no particular order, and are not used for collation where a definite order is required. However, a dozen Ugaritic tablets from the 14th century BC preserve the alphabet in two sequences. 1. The ABCDE order later used in Phoenician has continued with minor changes in Hebrew, Greek, Armenian, Gothic, Cyrillic, and Latin. The other, Q, was used in southern Arabia and is preserved today in Ethiopic. Both orders have therefore been stable for at least 3,000 years. Runic used an unrelated Futhark sequence, which was later simplified. Arabic uses its own sequence, although Arabic retains the traditional Abjadi order for numbering. The Brahmic family of alphabets used in India use a unique order based on phonology. The letters are arranged according to how and where they are produced in the mouth. This organization is used in Southeast Asia, Tibet, Korean Hangul, and even Japanese Kana, which is not an alphabet. Names of letters. The Phoenician letter names, in which each letter was associated with a word that begins with that sound, continue to be used to varying degrees in Samaritan, Aramaic, Syriac, Hebrew, Greek, and Arabic. The names were abandoned in Latin, which instead referred to the letters by adding a vowel before or after the consonant. The two exceptions were Y and Z, which were borrowed from the Greek alphabet rather than Etruscan, and were known as Y Greeka, Greek Y, and Zeta. This discrepancy was inherited by many European languages, as in the term Z for Z in all forms of English other than American English. Over time names sometimes shifted or were added, as in W for W, the English name for Y, and American Z for Z. Comparing names in English and French gives a clear reflection of the great vowel shift. A, B, C, and D are pronounced E, B, C, D in today's English, but in contemporary French they are A, B, C,
this can last.
The French names preserve the qualities of the English vowels from before the great vowel shift. By contrast, the names of F, L, M, N, and S remain the same in both languages because short vowels were largely unaffected by the shift. In Cyrillic, originally the letters were given names based on Slavic words. This was later abandoned as well in favor of a system similar to that used in Latin. Letters of Armenian alphabet also have distinct letter names. Orthography and pronunciation. When an alphabet is adopted or developed to represent a given language, an orthography generally comes into being, providing rules for the spelling of words in that language. In accordance with the principle on which alphabets are based, these rules will generally map letters of the alphabet to the phonemes of the spoken language. In a perfectly phonemic orthography, there would be a consistent one-to-one correspondence between the letters and the phonemes, so that a writer could predict the spelling of a word given its pronunciation, and a speaker would always know the pronunciation of a word given its spelling, and vice versa. However, this ideal is not usually achieved in practice. Some languages come close to it, while others deviate from it to a much larger degree. The pronunciation of a language often evolves independently of its writing system, and writing systems have been borrowed for languages they were not designed for, so the degree to which letters of an alphabet correspond to phonemes of a language varies greatly from one language to another and even within a single language. Languages may fail to achieve a one-to-one correspondence between letters and sounds in any of several ways. A language may represent a given phoneme by a combination of letters rather than just a single letter. Two-letter combinations are called digraphs and three-letter groups are called trigraphs. German uses the tetragraphs, tisch, for the phoneme T, and dsch for D. Kabardian also uses a tetragraph for one of its phonemes, namely Q. Two letters representing one sound occur in several instances in Hungarian as well. A language may represent the same phoneme with two or more different letters or combinations of letters. An example is modern Greek, which may write the phoneme I in 6 different ways: iota, eta, upsilon, aoi, and yi. A language may spell some words with unpronounced letters that exist for historical or other reasons. For example, the spelling of the Thai word for beer, bear, retains a letter for the final consonant, r, present in the English word it was borrowed from, but silences it. Pronunciation of individual words may change according to the presence of surrounding words in a sentence. Different dialects of a language may use different phonemes for the same word. This is gonna last 40 minutes. A language may use different sets of symbols or different rules for distinct sets of vocabulary items, such as the Japanese hiragana and katakana syllabaries, or the various rules in English for spelling words from Latin and Greek, or the original Germanic vocabulary. National languages sometimes elect to address the problem of dialects by simply associating the alphabet with the national standard. Some national languages like Finnish, Armenian, Turkish, Russian, Serbo-Croatian, and Bulgarian have a very regular spelling system with a nearly one-to-one correspondence between letters and phonemes. Strictly speaking, these national languages lack a word corresponding to the verb to spell, the closest match being a verb meaning to split a word into its syllables. Similarly, the Italian verb corresponding to spell, competere, is unknown to many Italians because spelling is usually trivial, as Italian spelling is highly phonemic. In Standard Spanish, One can tell the pronunciation of a word
10
from
minutes.
its spelling, but not vice versa, as certain phonemes can be represented in more than one way, but a given letter is consistently pronounced. French, with its silent letters and its heavy use of nasal vowels and elision, may seem to lack much correspondence between spelling and pronunciation, but its rules on pronunciation, though complex, are actually consistent and predictable with a fair degree of accuracy. At the other extreme are languages such as English, where the pronunciations of many words simply have to be memorized as they do not correspond to the spelling in a consistent way. For English, this is partly because the great vowel shift occurred after the orthography was established, and because English has acquired a large number of loanwords at different times, retaining their original spelling at varying levels. Even English has general, albeit complex, rules that predict pronunciation from spelling, and these rules are successful most of the time. Rules to predict spelling from the pronunciation have a higher failure rate. Sometimes, countries have the written language undergo a spelling reform to realign the writing with the contemporary spoken language. These can range from simple spelling changes in word forms to switching the entire writing system itself, as when Turkey switched from the Arabic alphabet to a Latin-based Turkish alphabet. The standard system of symbols used by linguists to represent sounds in any language, independently of orthography, is called the International Phonetic Alphabet.
Oh, that's it. So that's the video. So that's all about alphabet. So what do you learn? Okay, bye. Au revoir.